All right, everybody, welcome to the Conspirinormal Second Strange Realities 2022 preview show. And it's very fortuitous the night that we're doing this because it is September 14th and we are live, and it is 1 month to the day that everybody will be getting together in Nashville, Tennessee from October 14th through the 16th. And we have 4 speakers today that are all going to be speaking on Saturday. And I will go ahead and introduce everybody, and y'all can say hello. Kiki Dombrowski.
Hi. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. And Steve Berg.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Steve, I haven't got enough of you this week. I needed to bring you back.
Yeah, man. West Virginia trip.
Yeah, 3 days was not enough.
No, so. I agree.
And Michael Hughes is here.
Howdy.
Hi, hello. And definitely, last but definitely not least, Mr. John Tenney. John,
hey, weirdos, what's going on?
Yeah, welcome back to the show. 2 of you, I think 3 were part of the 400th episode. Kiki, were you part of that? It's been so long now, I can't remember.
I feel like I must have had something to do with it.
Yeah,
I remember
the whole gang was there pretty much.
Yeah, I think you were.
Didn't we do numerology or tarot of some kind for it?
I think we might have done that. I think we might have done that for the 2021 conference.
We hang out all the time. I can't remember.
I know. And there's a couple of episodes on the Patreon where at least one where Kiki gives us a quiz to see what galaxy we were from or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
How fun was that? I was thinking about that today. I'm from Sirius, which feels real good. It fits right here with my starseed soul. So very happy about that one.
I think I was from the Andromeda Galaxy, so I think I was like from a completely other galaxy altogether.
I think I was Pleiadian, but I'm not a Nazi.
Here we go.
It already started.
Yeah. Well, okay. So since you brought it up, we'll get to what everybody's going to be talking about in a second. What Serfiel is referencing. Well, John, maybe you could tell the story because I kept seeing this come up on my Twitter feed over the last few days, and I was just kind of like, "What is going on?"
Yeah,
what kind of shenanigans are happening now?
It's just one of those things that comes around. I mean, the UFO community has always had some difficulty because it stretches into all of the supernatural communities, right? There's a lot of background, whether it be fictional or just the people who created certain systems of magic or even ideas that tend to be fairly white supremacist, very Nazi based, and we are now seeing like kind of the re-rise of that because there's a person who was promoting some Nazi ideas who went to a UFO conference and was getting her picture taken with all of the current big names in the UFO community. And so now, of course, I'm not a Nazi, but when a person has a past history, I mean, we live in an era, right? Like YouTube exists and your podcasts exist. And so you can go back and find people talking about it. This person specifically saying like she's a reincarnate of one of the good Nazis, not one of the bad ones. So, I don't understand how that's even getting yourself out of trouble. That seems like it's just like saying, I mean, she just said she's a Nazi. I don't. When you say like I'm a good Nazi, not a bad Nazi, you have still just called yourself a Nazi.
Yeah. There was some other things about the Vril Society too that was in there, which I think was interesting.
Yeah, it's just one of those things too. Like it is important, obviously, that for anybody, no matter what kind of weird community they're in, to have an understanding of the history and where ideas might have come from. But like the fact that And I understand where everyone's on their own path, right? And so people are getting into this and maybe not knowing that certain authors are white supremacists or certain authors have troubled histories. Like, but the whole thing is like, we're supposed to talk to each other so that we can like say, this is the horrible fucking person that wrote this thing that you're quoting over and over again. You know, I've been doing this for 30 years. You have to sometimes just leave your heroes behind.
Yeah. That's very true. I actually pulled up one of the tweets here, and she a picture of there's like a picture of this girl that's often attributed. I forget the name now. See, this is how much I just like this stuff goes in one ear and out the other for me because it's just so damn crazy. But something like she was involved with like the Vril Society or something like that. Something that actually was like pulled from a work of 19th century fiction, the Vril Society, by the way.
Yeah.
The secret life force that powers the saucers.
Yeah. So she responded. She responded something here. Love for you too. I am not the incarnation of Maria, but I was a Vril medium, and I worked with her to found Vril Society and channel ETs. I also had an incarnation as an SS general. I miss them a lot. What a nightmare.
The good old days.
I think those time frames might overlap a little bit, but whatever.
Oh, Lordy.
But honestly, like it is what I said, right? Like, obviously, as we collect and compile and gather information, like we learn that, you know, people are flawed and some people were terrible. And again, when I was 16 years old and reading UFO books or magic books, I wasn't doing deep dives into people's backgrounds. But even at 16 years old, like I wasn't knowingly, like this person knows that this stuff is attributed to Nazism, right? And saying like, oh, it's not that bad. It's just good Nazism. Like I wasn't even doing that at 15 or 16 years old. I was like, oh, this is a fucking Nazi. Can I swear? I was like, oh, this is a Nazi thing. And then like I threw it away. Yeah. And was like I can go somewhere else.
Oh man. That's so true. I remember being like in a there was a punk record store in the downtown area where I lived, and I remember one day like taking the bus down there with my skateboard like when I was 13 or 14 and loving the song that was playing. It was some like crazy hardcore song. And I remember going up to the guy and he was like, yeah, it's like Screwdriver or something like that. And I thought it sounded good to me at the time. And I remember like talking to another like older punk kid in my neighborhood. He's like, dude, that is a Nazi white supremacist band. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't buy the record, but I was like, oh, all right. But like, you know, the punk community would teach you about things like that. They were very nice, you know, but like
not to get too off the subject of UFOs, but to your point, Steve, like my first job was working at a bondage leather store, which was also a punk rock record store. And I was like 15 at the time. Yes. And the owner, we were unpacking new merch like one day, and I was like, I opened a box and there was like a Nazi flag and Nazi armbands. And I was like, what is this? And he was like, oh, you know, Sid Vicious, punk rock, anti-counterculture. And I was like, no. And I like at 15, I was like, I quit.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's a deal breaker.
Oh, so you're going to profit off of like even at 15, I knew it was wrong.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Taking it back to UFOs, I mean, my first inkling of how awful some of this Nazi stuff had kind of been part of ufology was Jeff Rense. When Jeff Rense had, the website that was everything UFOs, and then every once in a while you'd see, really, like some little vaguely Nazi thing, and then he was a big promoter of Ernst Zundel, the guy who was all about like Nazi UFOs and just basically paraded Zundel out and Zundel's Holocaust denial and stuff like that, and so I realized like sites could be real honeypots, and they used people's interest in UFOs to just sort of kind of lure them into some really
especially back then with some flashy hyperlinks.
Right, blinking
spinning
tags,
UFO rainbow, and you just click on it, then you're in some kind of crazy.
He did have good hair, though. I'll give him that.
Oh yeah,
really nice hair.
But I've just never understood like how. I mean, it floors me to this day. Like when you're talking, whether or not you're talking about like the witchcraft community, the magic community, the UFO community, the Bigfoot community, like all of these subjects in my brain, and perhaps this is just the naivete of me, right? Like all of these subjects are meant to create like a family of all of us. And so, you know, like the end game, right, with UFOs, let's just take UFOs. Like the end game is another extraterrestrial race come here, and then we unite as a planet and go and travel the universe together. So if you have like people who are saying like, oh, when the aliens come, then we can really decide up and like put our teams into work and divide the countries and divide. That's not what I don't understand.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to ride on the spaceships. Like we're going to have to get along.
That should be a t-shirt.
Yes.
Well, just as a little bit of background, you were saying, John, that she was at was this thing in Mexico City? This
I think
conference
so, yeah.
that she was at, and of course she was taking some pictures with some like pretty bigwig people, which, you know, they don't. I'm sure they don't know just how crazy this girl is, but just like, this goes back, I think, Mike, that something we talked about way back in the beginning of last year about conspirituality. I mean, this is very much what it reminds me of, this kind of amalgamation between this kind of the real kind of new age spiritualism and the conspiracy stuff. And this is where we get things like the QAnon shaman and these guys. I mean, this is it's because like out here in the South, it's really it's really based kind of more like the evangelicals and some of the craziness that's going on with them. But out in the West Coast, it is much more in these like, you know, conspiracy, new age driven cultures. And this kind of stuff that she's talking about really reminds me of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been there, you know. I mean, all the way back to like blood libel, and you know, it's just reinvented itself as adrenochrome drinking Hillary Clinton and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's so pervaded the new age community now that it's shocking, you know, to see yoginis, you know, pimping the most, you know, wretched conspiracy theories, anti-vaccination, and stuff like that. It's amazing to me that it infected the new age community as quickly as it did. It's just pervasive now.
So you think there's like an exponential acceleration on kind of the new age community being infiltrated by, you know, conspiracies and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because like you said, it probably goes back way far, but yeah, I just took notice of it like kind of like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it really got articulated.
Even in LA, which is a very blue state, I was always noticing like these like the whole vaccine thing started like in Malibu, you know, like in the early 2000s, like, you know, it's giving kids autism and stuff like that. And that was pretty more widespread than people really realized in LA, at least.
It really got articulated in a academic paper called Conspirituality. I forgot the author, but they really kind of, you know, connected the dots and gave it that moniker.
Well, there's that underlying, there's always been, I mean, right? Because there's that underlying, like, we can be in touch with the universe. So there's this idea of like personal freedom, right? And that you can fall either way on political spectrums when you start to delve into personal freedom. Like, you can be, you know, everybody should be allowed to be the person that they are and recognize who they are. But then you can also be, no one can tell me what to do. I know what's best for everything. And you go so far left, you end up right, or you go so far right, you end up left.
You want to impose that divine order on the world.
And there's a distrust of authority. You know, I mean, we in Fortean circles that we grew up distrusting authority because we knew we were being lied to. And we were being lied to about UFOs. We were being lied to about, you know, alternative energy, things like that. So we have an inherent distrust in our community for a lot And in the New Age community, it's very tied to alternative health modalities and things like that. So there's an inherent distrust in our communities for authority, and that's been just exploited. It's an easy in. It's an easy in, and I've said before, like we also have to acknowledge that among our ranks, there's a lot of there's not a lot of rigor in thinking in a lot of people. Like we want to believe stuff, and sometimes we like let the filters down a little bit because we want to believe, or we may be a little more gullible to certain elements because we want to believe, and that's been exploited too. We are an easy community to exploit with disinformation and misinformation,
and especially like right now, like obviously you, and on top of all of that you just said, Michael, like you've got money, right? So all of a sudden you see, there's the Fox Nation, whatever it is, their new streaming service, like they're doing documentaries on, Tucker Carlson presents crop circles. Tucker Carlson presents cattle mutilation.
Don't get Michael started on that.
He's got a UFO show coming out. I just turned down Fox Nation is they just wrapped on their first paranormal reality show. They're going to have a ghost hunting show on Fox Nation.
Damn.
And I mean, if I get asked, when I got asked to be on that, I'm like, what comes before it? And they're like, Tucker Carlson. I'm like, what comes after it? They're like, Mark Furman. I'm like, why are you?
They're asking the wrong guy, man.
But the thing is they don't have an interest in it. They're looking to just generate money.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it likely will. I mean, I'm sure for the Fox News audience, no offense out there, but I'm sure it is they are ripe for this stuff. I'm sure they are going to eat it up,
Well, and then, Tucker Carlson can pitch himself as some kind of truth teller.
Yep.
I'm telling you the secrets that the government won't tell you.
Yep. He's Rogan in a suit almost at this point.
Yeah. and take Jeff Rentz, it's that honeypot theory again. You dangle the exciting provocative stuff out there, and you get the eyeballs, and then you start slipping in the other garbage. So
one of the things that's big right now, Bigfoot is such a huge thing right now, but I think one of the things that really drives Bigfoot is, like, for a lot of conservatives, Bigfoot has become like this symbol as well of just like kind of like the real like arch conservative, not necessarily
rugged individual on its own.
Rugged individualism. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say here.
That trend.
You don't need nobody.
That is a bummer, man.
I will tell you, I'll find a picture and post it, but there was a cryptozoological convention, and there was a guy at the convention. He has a Christian Bigfoot hunting group. And on the back of his shirt is a silhouette of Jesus on the cross and Bigfoot on his knee in front of him.
Right. I've seen that. Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. This is the thing.
I mean,
or conversely,
as a
Bigfoot is
event.
a Nephilim leftover or some kind of demonic entity that needs to be hunted.
It'd be really cool.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Kiki.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was just thinking of tattoo. You made me think of a tattoo idea. Like, I want the Last Supper with all cryptids sitting with
Nice.
Flatwoods monster in the middle.
Yes.
What I was going to say real quick is, and I'm here getting conspiratorial and controversial. I think people should look into, because it is very heavy, like in the UFO community, that there are a lot of Mormons. Like, that's pretty well known. But I think that people forget, like, you should look into the Bigfoot community, because most of the well-known Bigfooters are also Mormon.
Treasure hunters too. Yep.
Yeah. And like, I've talked to, because I think Jeff Meldrum is still Mormon. I think he's still practicing. But they bring up the biblical story of, the two children that were born, and one was covered with hair and was a man of the woods, and the other was, I can't remember the name of the babies now. But his father.
Is this Jacob and Esau?
Yeah, and Esau, yeah. And how Esau's father knew him by putting his hand on his shoulder because he was covered with hair. And so, like, there's actually this thing where, like, Mormons believe that Esau is like one of the lost tribe, and it's Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fun.
Yeah, they've always lived in enchanted America, so
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Sir Phil was saying, there's sometimes they go with the whole Nephilim thing, but if Bigfoot was a Nephilim, I don't know if he'd be at the cross praying to Jesus.
I went to a Bigfoot convention in Hastings, Nebraska last spring, and there was a lot of Nephilim talk. And I was interested in what they were saying. I'm like, okay, break it down for me. And they couldn't really, but it was entertaining.
Yeah, Bigfoot, I feel like, has become this symbol of the kind of rural America now. I've really started to notice this. A lot of big trucks, people's big pickup trucks have got Bigfoot on them. A lot of campsites have got Bigfoot pictures on them. Zip lines, all types of hunting grounds, all types of stuff like that. Like, it's become a big, especially with hunters and gun aficionados, it's become a big thing.
Yeti
Too,
coolers.
I've noticed. So Bigfoot, like, is exceedingly popular, the most popular paranormal thing. And to add to the Mormons thing, John, I don't know if you mentioned this, but the Skinwalker Ranch guy bought that. I mean, that's owned by Mormons.
Brandon's a
now.
Mormon.
Yeah.
No, what I was going to say, I think is interesting because you were saying like Bigfoot's big with hunters and kind of the rural community. And so you've always got like these. But the thing that's interesting is whether it's the stickers you see or like the giant cutouts by the side of the road, it's always the really famous, like obviously Patterson Gimlin silhouette. And it's like, how many of these big, massive trucker dudes like understand that most cryptozoologists think that Patty is a female?
Yeah. Which, I was actually like telling my wife this, who really doesn't care about this like at all.
It's good to have someone around you that doesn't care about this.
Be grounded. Yeah, but I was mentioning to her, like, I'm addicted to this game called Hearthstone. It's like a kind of a D&D poker type thing, whatever. But I will sometimes put Finding Bigfoot on or one of those shows in the background, just as like kind of like something to like giggle at, And I have a fetish for outdoor cheap camera stuff, anyways. But no one, I'm talking about 100% of the time, they always refer to Bigfoot as he.
Yeah.
Like, there is not even a female Bigfoot at all, and they're all flesh and blood, and they're like breeding, a breeding population. But they never mention a female Bigfoot. Yet Patty, like you said, is kind of, been decided largely, I think, by the Bigfoot community that she's a female.
Yeah.
Well, it's the wild man archetype, right?
Yeah.
Misogyny is rampant in the Bigfoot community.
I mean, all of the cryptids, right? Like Mothman.
You're right.
Like that we apply this idea onto it. And again, we're dealing with complete unknowns and just making judgment calls.
Right.
Like, how do you know that moth, what we call Mothman, isn't some archetypal female goddess? Like,
exactly.
That actually fits a lot better than a giant Mothman.
For real.
It makes sense, doesn't it, with lunar goddesses?
Yeah, absolutely.
Moth Lady.
And
I like
Keel
that.
and Gray Barker, who both, wrote the books, kind of the definitive books about the Mothman, they never once mentioned the gender of it. They don't talk about like that, so.
Right, but the Flatwoods monster is depicted with a dress and almost always depicted as female because of the kind of flowing gown.
You mean this one, John?
You got it! Oh my god, how fun is it to hold? It feels like you won an award.
I love it. It's my,
Well, just to address this one question or statement real quick, what would be natural for the Bigfoot interest to be high amongst rural outdoor folk? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
I would say that for sure. But what I'm talking about is something from the last, I've noticed in the last 2 or 3 years, and maybe really only in the last year, that it's gotten really much bigger. It's not a judgment either way. I find it to be an interesting case.
But what I would say kind of is that, at least in my opinion, I've always, I love all this stuff and I've read about it my whole life. But I feel like when I read Josh Cutchin and Timothy Renner's books on kind of the paranormality aspect for Bigfoot, it got me excited about Bigfoot again. And I think for a lot of people, maybe who have been into it for a long time, it's not a new thing. I think kind of the paranormal, theory or philosophy on cryptids is really exciting to me, at least. Like I love those books. I love what Timothy Renner, his approach to it. So I think there is, for the first time, or not first time, but somewhat recently, there is good material on the paranormality aspect of Bigfoot. So there is some good stuff out there. I actually think it's a good time for Bigfoot in some ways.
Yeah, and I think, like, to your point, like, again, I was talking about how we're all on our own paths and our own journeys and stuff like that. Like, I was privileged enough to grow up in a super diverse community. So when I got interested in Bigfoot and was checking out books on Bigfoot, one of my friends who is one of the original, his family are one of the original inhabitants of North America, like his concept of Bigfoot, like I was probably 13 when he was like, oh, it's a nature spirit that my people used to. And so like at a very early age, it was introduced to me as, oh, there might be a physical thing, but for a lot longer, it's been an elemental of this earth. It's been a more spiritual creature.
That's a lucky nugget to pick up as a kid too. Like, wow, because I mean, it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into what you guys are going to be talking about at the conference. And like I mentioned before, all four of you are going to be speaking on Saturday. And what I'll do is I'll kind of go down by the actually, Kiki, Mike, and Steve, you guys are all in a block on Saturday. So Kiki, we'll start with you. This is Saturday, October 15th, in about a month. Got you coming in from lunch 1 to 2. And I should say that Kiki and Mike, you both are going to do more workshop format for your presentation. So Kiki, let's talk about what you're going to be doing for Strange Realities.
I'm really excited. I'm going to do just a divination workshop. I kind of wanted it to be equivalent to the arts and crafts hour at a camp. So it's just going to be kind of a hands-on, really mellow, chill class where we'll do some talking about what divination is and maybe talk about different forms of divination. I have tons of different kits, so I was going to bring oracle cards and tarot cards and runes and pendulums and dowsing rods, but I think the thing that I'm really excited about is having everybody build their own trinket kit. So anybody who attends will be able to build their own divination trinket kit. And I've started to collect things to share with people, and that's been a lot of fun. I like looking for shells, so that'll be there. And I'm going to do some acorns and all sorts of fun little things. I won't give too much away about what else I want to put in there, but I think too, even like before we started the broadcast, that idea of sort of like it might also be fun to do some automatic drawing, right? Or maybe like we could do some sort of surrealist drawing exercise where somebody doodles, folds the page, and the next person continues. So just kind of an hour of divination and working with what our spirit wants us to encounter with ourselves and the other folks in the room.
That sounds so amazing.
Really
I am enthusiastically there with the bells on.
Oh,
That sounds so fun. Wow, perfect.
Good. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it will be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm excited, nervous, looking forward to talking to people, looking forward to seeing people getting to know themselves through using divination tools. I think that's a really powerful thing. And then maybe even talking about, I'm sure people are going to have show and tell stories, maybe letting people talk about, their experience, their really awesome and weird experiences using divination. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know it's only an hour class, so we'll see how much.
Awesome. Thanks for that. We really wanted to get the workshops going this year, and both you and Mike Hughes are going to be providing some different types of experiences beyond just the usual lectures that we've had. So I really appreciate that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Thank you for letting us do that. I'm thrilled. It's definitely a place where I feel a little bit more comfortable and confident than getting up and doing a slideshow. Although I think that's good too. I'll probably have a slideshow still, but
Okay. Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and this way too, because we were thinking about doing it in doing the workshops in the other room while it's going on, but this way too, the online audience can join in with this as well. So it's just going to be all on one stream, and I think that's going to make it a little easier. There is an extra room, so if anybody wants to continue, maybe doing a little bit of practices or anything that they want to do,
Cool.
you can do it in the other room as well. But in that hour time, that'll be shared with the online audience,
I love
which
it.
I think is going to be really important.
And I'm really excited about people being able to join us virtually that can't make it to Nashville. But if you can make it to Nashville, like just look at the people on your screen right now. We're so fun. Like, come hang out with us.
Absolutely.
Well, have fun. I love that.
You're all
town.
coming to Nashville, right? You're going to be there in person.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love it there.
I'm so excited.
The day before, if people need some kind of like craft supplies to participate, like if you could let us know the day before, we could tell everyone for the online audience what they should have to participate. That'd be cool.
I could share that with you guys for sure.
Great idea.
But
Awesome.
I want it secret for everybody who's there in person.
Excellent.
Good.
Awesome.
Good. This is gonna be awesome. This is really exciting. And then Michael Hughes, you follow Kiki. It's a hard act to follow, Mike. So
I know. I'm excited. I'm really excited about Kiki's workshop. I mean, I love the idea of the trinket divination and just all forms of divination. But so yeah, what time will I be going on? Just
So
right
you're
now to tell people.
So we normally take a 10-minute break between speaker spots, or in this case, workshop spots. So this will be 2:10 to 3:10. Keep in mind that's Central Time. So if anybody's going to be watching the conference from wherever you're at, just calculate what your time zone is going to be.
Can do. Yeah. So what I'm doing is tarot magic. And essentially, I mean, so many people have been getting into tarot reading. I remember when I first started teaching classes, I would get maybe, 6-10 people. And every time I do them now, I just have to have a waiting list because there's just such an incredible interest out there among, such a diverse group of people too. So for me, I think a lot of people are into using the cards and divination with the cards, but what this workshop is going to be about is how to use tarot just sort of to navigate your life, to live better, to enhance probability in your favor, to get insights that aren't just the typical reading cards for insights and things like that. So, and these are a series of exercises, like things I've been working with for many years, things I've picked up from other people, so I credit the other folks that I got some of these exercises from. But I think it's just another way of looking at this art, this divinatory art, and taking it into just different places in your life, just to explore, interfacing with reality using these. I generally use the major cards for the most part. So a lot of it's going to be focused on the 22 major cards, but I'm bringing lots of decks. I have lots of historic decks that I use for different purposes. And I'll talk to people about different decks you can use for different kinds of, different exercises and things like that. And, but what I would encourage, and I'm also like Kiki, I'm very excited to have people join online as well. All this stuff can be taught really easily virtually. So I'm just really excited. It's the first time I've talked about a lot of this stuff, because generally I just teach like practical tarot reading without a lot of magical components to it. So it's really exciting for me because I'm just kind of like spilling all the stuff that I've been excited about and that I've been doing for a long time. So, and I just encourage everybody, just bring a deck, like bring your favorite deck, bring a couple of decks. If you're sitting at home, just, use whatever deck that you're familiar with, because it will be applicable to basically any tarot deck. That's the point of it. So I'm really excited. So I appreciate the opportunity to do this
perfect.
workshop. Yeah.
Oh,
It's great. It's great to
again.
have you back. Yeah.
I can't wait to get back. I love Sir Studios, man. It's such a fun time, like walking around and looking at all the instruments and everything. All my music geek friends, I just kept like sending them shots, like the wall of drum kits and and just the endless wall of guitars and stuff like that. And they were just they were blown away. So it's such a cool space too. So
Yeah, it's a great place. The reason that we've done it there, since you brought it up, the reason that we've done it there over the years is really because of Rob,
Mm-hmm.
who used to be part of Conspiranormal and really still part of our family. He's the one that will be doing the sound. So I think you probably met Rob last year, but because of him, the first year we were able to get a good discount because he worked there at the time, and it has everything we need. And when the pandemic hit, they decided that since they were getting a lot of bands practicing, they decided to install internet in every single one of the practice rooms. So we have the largest practice room, which is room number 1. And so we're able to just hardwire in and just stream last year. And it was they really have literally everything we need to make this happen. So
cool venue. I just want to add one more thing too, is that this tarot magic my approach is that magic is just something, it's part of being human, is doing magic. So, you don't have to be a witch or, follow any particular tradition. I just think magic is like our birthright. It's something that we do. So this is magic that, it doesn't matter what your spiritual perspective or your tradition or anything like that. It's just, this is what people do. And, everyone should experience more magic in their lives. That's what I look at.
I love
Well
that,
put.
Michael.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Sounds like a great class.
for sure.
Cool.
I have the
Well,
tarot deck for it too. You see?
Is that Golden
Go-
Oh,
nice.
I'll bring my
Oh,
Twin
man.
Peaks deck. We'll do all the TV shows.
I've got my UFO deck. I've got my Miss Cleo deck. Maybe I'll use that one. So,
I'll bring my vintage Kiss trading cards, which I've used in tarot.
No, yeah.
Please, I want to see that.
All right, we all have to bring these.
Detroit Rock City, baby.
Yep.
nice.
Amazing.
Are you going to bring the Golden Girls deck, Kiki, to Nashville?
Yeah, I will bring so many. Another one that I really love is the Star Child deck, because I'm really into starseed stuff. So I have so many tarot decks, and I'll just pack them. I'm driving up, so I'll just pack them in the car.
All right, we can have like a deck party where we all show each other our decks. That sounds a little nasty, but yeah, show and tell tarot deck party. That would.
I love it.
Oh,
That would be
yes.
Perfect.
Fun.
Well, at following this workshop, and sorry, Steve, you got to follow this greatness.
Oh,
but
good Lord.
yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Well,
320 to 420.
yeah.
So,
There's a 10-minute break after 420.
yeah,
Perfect.
10-minute break.
Perfect
There is a
timing for
10-minute
me,
break
man.
after 420.
Strange how that worked out.
I will have to observe. No, I will not. I'll be a professional. That'll happen afterwards. I'm gonna. It's not really a hodgepodge. I'm going to talk about kind of two different subjects. One is I studied long form improv and sketch comedy. This Chicago style Second City Improv Olympic Upright Citizens Brigade. I did it for 15 long years. And the guy who invented this form and really invented improv as an art form is this man named Del Close. And Del Close John knows who he is, of course. And he was a brilliant person, a troubled man, prickly and had his misgivings, but he was very into magic. And he rubbed, elbows with a lot of kind of the big players of the 40s and 50s. And supposedly he gave, L. Ron Hubbard the idea to write Dianetics. And so I'm going to talk a bit about that because, this guy literally influenced everyone we grew up watching. Bill Murray. Everyone in the early SNL. They're all kind of, and they call themselves disciples of Del. And Del would teach the opening every improv show I ever did. You would start with something called the invocation, where you were invoking to the spirit gods of comedy to like get everyone going into a group mind. And I have to say it worked. Like I bought into it completely. And he would always he would say, you were performing magic up there. You're not doing comedy. You're not doing acting, whatever. You were performing a ritual. And so it was. I just want to like kind of talk a little bit about the occult influence on mainstream comedy, because there is a big one. And it's not evil, scary occult. I think it's very positive and good. It's a great way for any artist to loosen up and get out of their head and learn how to perform unconsciously with other people. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because I have a personal connection to it. But also about year and a half ago, 2 years ago, during the pandemic, I moved back to Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm originally from, to kind of help my parents out because they're older, and I was freaking out because it was a pandemic and they're by themselves. But I've always had this affinity for Nebraska high strangeness. So I have been kind of talking to a lot of people, a lot of historians, and some experiencers, and so I've been going out into the field, and this is so fun for me because I've always dreamed about doing all this stuff. And I've been out in cornfields with a bow hunter who has shown me all these quite remarkable structures and deer camera, videos of orbs of light and stuff. And I end up, so I've been peeling the onion on some of these stories and finding some quite incredible stuff. And what kind of going back to the paranormality of, Bigfoot, people think, oh, Nebraska, there's no forest. It's just, agriculture and farmland. And it mostly is. But there is a lot of Bigfoot and cryptid sightings, black cat sightings, going back to the 1800s in newspapers that I found. So I have been spending a lot of free time in small town rural libraries, which to me is a wonderful way to spend a day. And I have been finding some quite fascinating stuff, to me at least. So I'm going to share, some of my passion for Nebraska high strangeness with and hopefully it's a lot of news stories that you haven't found online, because there's the Herbert Schirmer case, which is wonderful and fun, and Reinhold Schmidt happened in Nebraska, and there's Ball Cemetery, and there's some greatest hits, but I'm going to try my best to kind of steer away from those and hopefully introduce people to some new encounters and new cases, and a little piece of Nebraska history, which I feel like has been kind of overlooked. So I'm going to give that a crack, and hopefully it goes okay. I will say I'm terribly nervous. I've been on stage thousands of times, but I've never done a presentation, and I'm worried about being having to stand still and not being able to. Can I move around? Okay, yeah. You can. Okay, I wasn't sure, because I feel like most of the ones are people are at a podium, which is great. But I feel like I might come out of my skin.
The sound guy might want to dictate that.
We'll figure it out.
I don't want to cause any problems. I'm gonna really try to ground myself. But
I'm gonna walk around, Steve.
Oh, if John's doing it, I can do it then.
Yeah.
I just feel more comfortable. I feel like I won't be as nervous if I'm moving. If I'm standing still,
we can probably get you a microphone that you can walk around with.
Okay, cool. And if not, I can shout pretty loud. But
there's a handheld mic. It's a handheld mic anyway, so you can take it off and everything.
Cool. I just feel like it'll be more me if I'm able to do that.
Yeah, I just know Rob hates lapel mics with a passion.
They're problematic. Well, they ruffle up, and plus I'm a gesticulator, so I'm sure I'll be knocking it and stuff. So, but I am so excited, and I will tell you, this is the most nervous I've ever been to do anything. Probably it's but I'm so excited. I'm
excited. I didn't know Del was into magic.
Oh yeah, I'll bring you a book if you're interested. It's called The Guru, and it's I think you'd really enjoy it. I mean, he was deeply into magic, and he was a Wiccan, and he all his teachings, his whole philosophy, he really learned from magical practices, kind of the Crowleyan, Kenneth Grant stuff. I think he was a bigger Kenneth Grant guy, but it's quite fascinating. Yeah, it's interesting.
I've always wondered why long form improv and improv, that style of improv, I've always wondered why I've been so drawn to it. I wonder if I'm just unconsciously recognizing
I bet. I think you're right. I mean, even like, like whether you're a Grateful Dead fan or not, they kind of did the same thing where there was like no set list. We're just gonna go like invoke something at the beginning and play for 4 hours, and sometimes it works great, like improv, and sometimes it's a train wreck.
Steve, I'm kind of worried. I'm kind of worried that some synchromystic bullshitters are gonna like take that and run with it to expose the satanic origins of comedy in Hollywood.
I'm
sure.
So. What more could they do? Like, I mean, it's insane, man. Yeah, have fun with it. Eat your heart out. Go for it.
Actually, that's since you brought that up. I mean, I know that there's lately in the last 10 years, there's been a huge occult revival. Mm-hmm. But historically, I mean, I have a lot of actors because I mean, acting is a craft, and have a lot of actors embraced some of these ideas and some of these more like occult and philosophical concepts, like Del Close did.
I think it's funny because most of my friends are from like an improv sketch alternative community in LA, and no one really cares. Like honestly, like they know because all our teachers that we grew up were direct like disciples of Del, and all they would do every class and like when they were coaching us was quote Del. So we all knew about it, but for me, I was like, "What? Are you kidding me? Like this is amazing!" And for me, I loved it so much. But my friends were like, "Cool, can I just get on stage now?" So, but I will say, I think actors and artists in general are more open to some of these kind of woo ideas that, or whatever you want to call it. That because if I'm at a party for more than 5 minutes, I'm asking someone if they've had a weird experience. And a lot of times they say yes.
Well, yeah, especially I mean, if you get actors that that have been in theaters, you get a lot of weird theater ghost stories and those.
Every theater is haunted, they say. Like in I performed when I was in college. I did a lot of plays outside of the campus I was in, outside of the school, and sure enough, the theater was. I never experienced anything, but everyone's like, "It's haunted, man." I was here last night, and the doors were slamming and stuff. So like, that is a thing.
Yeah.
You know what, Steve?
Theater major here too, by the way.
Oh.
When you were talking, I was thinking too, like when I listen to the podcast that I listen to or go to shows where they're doing improv, it's funny because sometimes you'll hear interviews with comedians and they'll sound like obviously there are some people who just don't believe in anything.
Yes.
But almost every time I go and see improv, within moments, they have devolved to a ghost being involved. Yep. Or an alien or a monster, like, or someone is psychic and like it's every improv immediately, like all of a sudden someone's a ghost and haunting the house.
Exactly. That is wildly common, and pirates and robots. But those are the big five. When people are like, what should the scene be about? Hey, I'm a robot, from outer space. Yeah, you're so right, though. It is wildly common. And I've done it myself 1,000 times. For me, it was a go-to, scene would open up, I'm getting abducted and getting, surgical things performed on me, but
totally off base. But since you brought up improv, is there any link between comedy improvisation and like jazz improvisation? Are there ties? And because it seems kind of the same thing, and a lot of jazz. I'm a big jazz fan. A lot of jazz musicians are kind of start to get out there too.
Totally. Just let it flow through you.
Yeah, it really is. Del was a huge jazz guy. Big surprise. And so he was very, very inspired artistically by jazz in so many different aspects. But the improvisational thing absolutely was borrowed from jazz.
Totally. Cool.
I think it's improv is a mixture of jazz and magic, really.
Very cool.
Jazz and magic.
Jazz and magic.
Jazz hands and magic.
So, actually, Saturday night, the 15th of October, we end with Mr. John Tenney, the headliner. John, you're the headliner of Saturday night.
Pressure.
No pressure, yeah. 8:50 to 9:50, that's Central Time again. So, John, what are you going to be talking about?
I'm the headliner, then I for sure get to walk around on the stage.
That's right.
That's
right.
You do.
We'll pass the mic. How about that?
Anybody that's ever seen my lectures know that it's very free form, but one of the things that I used to do this lecture a long time ago, which was called The End of the World, and it just discussed apocalypse and doomsday scenarios and how many we've all lived through in our lives, and how every generation has these moments where they think it's the end of the world. But I kind of recrafted some of that lecture because I wanted to do a lecture about the doomsday of conspiracy theories, like how conspiracy theories like don't even really mean anything anymore. They are like, obviously they're alive and they surge through everywhere, but at the same time they're completely dead, because there are so many competing conspiracy theories that, like, it used to be a big deal if you had a convention and there was a hollow earther and a flat earther, and they might argue at that event, right? But now, like, there are so many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of competing conspiracy theories. It's dead, like, and it's over. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about that and how that informs and creates kind of the way that we think about reality, or our seemingly shared reality right now. But I will start, I really want to attempt to, at my lecture at the beginning, I want to attempt to create a conspiracy theory. And then by the end of my lecture, with the help of people online and in the room, we're going to validate the thing that we made up at the beginning of the lecture. Like, I want people to use their phones and the internet and their knowledge, and we're going to start crafting at the beginning. I'll do my lecture, and at the end, we'll have all the evidence that what we made was true.
Can we have a hashtag for it so we could get it going on Twitter too?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's pretty
fabulous.
Discordian of you, Tinny.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, when I say at the end of the lecture, we're going to prove that it's true, what we're going to actually just do, what I hope to have by the end, is we'll just have this wealth of compiled data that anyone that looks at it would say, like, oh, this has to be true. But we all knowingly made it up at the beginning of the lecture. So just to show how conspiracy theories can be crafted and how narratives can be drawn and how people can start to believe in things. And then I'll be really interested to see if it actually plays out months, perhaps weeks, years later, if we actually just picked up on something that was hiding in the dark.
You're going to give away the real secret, aren't you, man?
Yeah, that sounds a little.
Something like a tulpa, right?
Yeah.
Wow. A
Something.
random conspiracy theory generator. This is unbelievable. I am so there. This is going to be great.
And powered by all the speakers, all the guests, and all the people online.
For real. This is so
Love it.
awesome.
It's like the Philip experiment of conspiracy theories.
Totally.
100%. Yep.
Oh my Lord.
Well,
We're going to drag the ridiculous into the world of the ridiculous.
Thank you for using Strange Realities 2022 to generate a unified field conspiracy theory.
It's strange realities. We have to create a strange reality.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
All this stuff is really participatory. I think it's really showing, like, what makes Strange Realities different. So I really appreciate you guys. This is all sounding really fun.
Yeah, I'm just excited to watch everybody.
I'm thankful that you created a platform where we can all come together and talk about our, weird things.
Yeah, this lineup, I mean, you're not going to see all these people anywhere else. I'll just say that. Like, we've been holding it down for 4 years, and we'll see what the future has in store. But this is going to be a really, really great one here. And we've really perfected the hybrid format. So, that's one good thing that came out of the pandemic. So we really like having that best of both worlds going on, to let all the online people check it out too. But like you said at the beginning, Kiki, it's going to be a lot of fun because all these people are very accessible, and all those hallway conversations and hotel hangouts are really part of what it's all about.
Especially when you've got Tim Banal in the mix. That's what really
This is my room. I'm rooming with him.
Oh man.
You didn't get
By
that
choice. By choice. I love it.
You did not get the pleasure at Paramania, but for Strange Realities, yes.
Well,
It's
he'll
gonna
drag
be-
me out. He'll keep me awake late, Tim will take care of it.
Yeah.
The last time I've talked about this before. The last time I saw Banal, we got kicked out of a bar together.
He actually told that story just a few days ago.
He's right back up in the morning though. Like
That's what's so weird
Yeah.
about it, is that like he could do like
he's
he
a
could just
professional.
party all night, and then like 6:30 in the morning he's up. I mean, just look ready.
I'll tell you though, I don't know why he got kicked out of that bar we were at, he and I. He was already outside when I got kicked out. But I will tell you, this is the most ridiculous being kicked out that I've ever had in my life. The bartender refused to serve me and kicked me out because she goes, "You're not from around here, are you?" And I was like, "No." And she goes, "You look like a nice person." And I go, "I am." And she goes, "I'm not going to serve you. You shouldn't be in this bar." And I was like, "Because I'm nice?" She goes, "You look like a nice person. You shouldn't be in this bar." And then she told one of the bouncers to walk me out. And so he walked me out, and I was about to call Banal and realized he was standing in front of me. And he's like, "They kicked me out." I don't know what
Maybe she's just looking out for you, man. That's,
it was. And like, I appreciate
Yeah.
that, but
Wow.
like,
What
you're not in the
was that?
motorcycle club. You should probably leave.
Oh my god.
We were in,
Where were you?
we were in, where's Lauren's museum?
He said it was Portland.
Oh,
Portland,
Portland,
Maine.
Maine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he watching?
I don't know. He might be.
Oh, I thought you said he said that, so I thought he was.
Oh no, well no, because we just saw him
It
not
is
that
in
long
Portland,
ago.
Maine,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
How was West Virginia?
It was great.
I loved the pictures. It was,
It was
really
really
fun
fun.
to see everybody
It was-
enjoying themselves.
It was
With
just
Mothman's
so
butt.
fun to like go stand where Linda Scarberry saw the. I mean, like, you know, like that book was such a gateway drug for me, like as a kid, and it, you know, I read it like 5 times. Like I would love John Keel so much, but it was great. You know, like it was cool. I think it's a pilgrimage everyone should make if you're into weird stuff. I think.
Whoa.
And Flatwoods is so close too, so you might as well go to both.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I-
Oh, I'm so glad.
And the
that-
Serpent
that's a lot
Mound
of
is
fun.
right there too. The Serpent Mound that might have been the best thing I saw. That was
Did
like,
you guys
very
saw?
moving.
You guys saw there before, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I drove up because I wanted to go there, and I went to the Cahokia Mounds on my way home, and that was
Amazing.
I can't believe we were not taught that in high school or like in school. Period. Like no one, even the Midwest, even knows that exists, and it's like kind of our Giza, you know, like it's
Yeah.
unbelievably impressive.
And to know that you could just walk to the top of it and look out and see the arches, it's
Yeah.
really a
It's,
fascinating vibe.
it is very moving, really. You know, like I was like
Yeah.
emotional. Like I loved it so much.
There's some cool. I guess it's not that close.
Old Stone Fort.
Yep, that's what I was thinking
Where's
of.
that? Where's that?
Manchester,
yeah.
Tennessee. So actually, where the town where Bonnaroo is.
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes out.
It's a little field trip, but that is an ancient area where mounds were built on this really beautiful, like it's gorgeous. It's like this like peninsula of just waterfalls, and it's gorgeous. And these mounds were built up to align with the summer solstice, which I think is cool because Bonnaroo also happens around the summer solstice. So this tradition of honoring the sun is still taking place in the same area. And then there's also like the ideas of like all the giants being found in the caves around the area too, like the giant skeletons. And one time I went into the Old Stone Fort shop because I was like, I'm just going to ask. I was like, do you have any information on giants? And the woman was just like, no.
Oh,
One of them.
She had no comment. She had no, I could get a patch and I could leave, like get on the trail and leave her alone. But it's really beautiful. And also if you go in the other direction towards the Natchez Trace, there's actually another mound on the Harpeth River that you can see. And if you sign up with the archaeological whatever, you can walk there and walk up to the top of the mound. And there's petroglyphs on the rocks nearby. So there's really sacred space and really beautiful areas. I mean, Nashville too. What was it that they were building where they found a saber-toothed tiger skeleton underneath?
One of those buildings downtown. That's where we get the mascot for the hockey team, the Predators.
That's right. With their sacred catfish ritual every game, right?
Whoa.
So yeah, it's such a beautiful. You'll love it.
Yeah, I've been to Nashville a few times and I love the city, but I'm hoping to, you know, carve out enough time where I can go check out some other weird stuff. I know the Bell Witch is played out, but I have to go see the Bell Witch I'm so close. I have to go. You know, like
I know.
Well-
and I think that you guys went last year, didn't you?
did
It
you?
was all closed,
Yeah,
but we
everything
went
was
there. Yeah.
closed down. But
Oh, COVID.
there's, I think that Sergio was saying that there's actually that Thursday before the conference, there is a tour going on about Olivet Cemetery, which is very well worth going to see anything at Mount Olivet Cemetery.
Is that in the evening?
Yeah,
Very cool.
Are we gonna carpool out there?
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll get to see how everybody feels because
Oh,
there's
we
going to be
gotta-
a lot of people. Yeah, we should probably just go out there just ourselves and don't worry about the tour.
Yes.
Which I mean, you know,
That's
Sergio
right.
knows where the plenty of stuff is by himself. So
That's awesome.
Sir Phil will be our tour guide.
that's
Good.
I
right.
can do
Now
it.
I can finally say it fun.
I got to say, while a bunch of you guys were tooling around Mothman, I was feeling very jealous that I wasn't there. And I was driving in my car, and this kind of younger dude pulled up in front of me, stickers all over the car, and there was a freaking Mothman sticker on it.
Really? Ooh, I
And-
love it.
Look at
I
you.
had just been looking at the photos and just feeling extremely envious of,
Oh,
of
wow.
that. So that was a great little sync there.
That's a great one.
There's something about the existence of the mounds and all the weirdness. There's something to it. Because
My
it's
little-
interesting how
My little sync that just happened was you guys. My mind was spinning because, like, one of the most haunted cemeteries here in Detroit is Mount Olivet.
oh really
So, like,
Oh,
Yes.
yeah
It's already happening, man.
Mount Olivet here is it's like a very special place. There's a lot going on there.
that weird pyramid site is really fascinating. And
Yeah.
that's really cool too.
Yeah, who is that? That's
Major Lewis, he was the pretty much the mastermind behind the Parthenon,
Wow.
and I
Which is
believe
also an
vice
important
president
place to
Centennial.
Really quick before we breeze past Mothman, John, am I wrong in thinking? Or am I dreaming this? Was there? I know there was like Mothman sightings in Chicago, supposedly in around Lake Michigan, but was there a Mothman or winged humanoid sighting in Michigan somewhat recently, or am I making that up?
no, someone said they saw some kind of winged figure here in Michigan.
Right.
I think in the last year or so.
Okay.
But I mean, Michigan is obviously, when you dig deep in every state, you start finding there's winged creatures all over the place.
Right.
It's just whether or not anyone sees it or recognizes it as not a hawk or an eagle.
Right.
Like, oh, it's a humanoid with wings. But yeah,
You guys, sorry.
I was just going to say, I just wanted to tell you because you were talking about your Mount Olivet. So my Mount Olivet, when I first started researching stuff, ours in Detroit has like a strange amount of lightning strikes and like storms that happen near it. And when I was a kid, probably like 14 to about 17, I was super fascinated by it because as a comic book kid, people said they saw the ghost of Superman in Mount Olivet. And so that was just kind of on my back burner, and it just sat for years and years. So I become an older man. I become more fascinated in classic films and movies. I'm still a comic book geek, whatever. So it didn't even register to me. I went to Mount Olivet one time because I found out that this guy who was an actor back in the 1930s, he played a cowboy in like 70 cowboy movies. His name's Tom Tyler, and he's buried at Mount Olivet. And it was like at that moment that I realized that Tom Tyler was the first person to play Shazam in films. And
The lightning, yeah.
spinning back to my head that like lightning strikes in Mount Olivet, and someone said they saw Superman. Like Tom Tyler is like the ghost of Shazam.
Oh my God, that is
Right.
amazing.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's our weird Mount Olivet that we have here.
Wow.
Well, have you been to the Mount Olivet in Nashville?
No, that's why I said, that's why my ears
That's
perked.
on your list.
It's calling you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very old historical cemetery. A lot of the movers and shakers of Nashville. There's a lot of history there. and it's still an operational cemetery too. Like but I mean, you can definitely tell the old part, and there's some interesting stuff to see. We'll try to get as many people as we can on that Thursday night. I think it would be good to do it before the conference, because we did do that with Ren and one other person. We went up there and just hung around at nighttime.
Ooh,
and
maybe Thursday night.
Yeah, like I said, Surfing Out. I mean, he's a good enough tour guide himself. He knows that place pretty well. So
you got my brain spinning, because now I'm wondering if I should get some of my friends here to go to Mount Olivet on the night we go to Mount Olivet, and see if I can get Tom Tyler to appear as Shazam in your Mount Olivet.
See if we can open a portal. Is that what you want to do?
I have some friends that could probably do something in Mount Olivet in Detroit.
I'm loving what's cooking here. This is good.
This is going to be such a good weekend.
Oh, it's the best.
Back to the mounds real quick though, Steve. The next day, you left Sunday. You left on Sunday morning, but Sunday we went to the Creel Mound, which is Criel. That's right there in like a place called South Charleston.
Mm-hmm. Really, it was in Charleston actually.
Yeah, it's in Charleston itself in a little park. And then there's on the way back, Josh and Bruce and I hit the Ashland, Kentucky mounds, which are just pretty small. They're very tiny compared to like even the Creel Mound, but that was interesting in and of itself. And just like all this stuff that we have from this old civilization is just amazing. There's amazing stuff here.
Yes,
in the United States,
there really is, and it's funny because all these like sites we're talking about, it's so crazy that you have to actually like be in the know or know people who know people like us. Because I was telling my friends, I was like, "Oh, you should really take your family to the Cahokia Mounds." Like I was just telling my buddy, he's like, "The what?" I mean, I never heard a mention of even Chaco Canyon. Like Chaco Canyon is one of the most amazing feats of architecture or just like ancient civilization in the world, and no one knows about it. Like it really is quite. It's disturbing to me because
I have a little bit of a different experience growing up in the Southwest. It's a lot more, probably because there's more living Native Americans, and it's not just like a memory for the most part,
right? But it's just breathtaking. It's like it disturbs me that the education system, I went to public school, is so skewed towards like Western European. When Western Europeans got here, that's when history started. Like it's what a disservice to young children. It really upsets me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like I think all of us experienced something similar to that. I mean, growing up in Michigan, I was probably in high school when someone explained to me that like Michigan is a Native American word, like, but it's a bastardization of it, obviously. But like, none of that's discussed in elementary school. Like in elementary school, here's when the Europeans got here. They had Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like that's history.
Here we are.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, here we are.
You know enough. Go on. Yeah, create your own history.
I got to chime in because I just recently wrote an article on my favorite cemeteries in Baltimore, and the one that I've never been to is Mount Olivet Cemetery in Baltimore. So we got one too, man, and now I'm determined to get there.
Triple think.
Now we have to
and if you guys,
yeah, exactly.
if you guys do come to Baltimore ever, I will take you to see the Elijah Bond Ouija board tombstone. There's a gravestone with a Ouija board on it in honoring the grave of Elijah Bond, which no one knew where it was for a long time. It was only in like I think 10 years ago someone.
I think was that the Talking Board Historical Society did that, because it might be.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so it's just amazing. You're walking through this beautiful historic cemetery with just incredible funerary art, and all of a sudden there's a Ouija board in front of you. It's so cool. So
I will take you up on that when I'm in Baltimore.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah. Well,
is there
invitation.
Yeah.
Is there a burial site for Poe?
Yeah, there is. You can see. Yeah,
Okay.
you can go to Poe's burial ground, and there's actually a Westminster church. There's like a catacombs part of it too that you used to be able to go on tours to see, but I'm not sure. I haven't. It's been many years since I went on if they're doing those anymore. But yeah, you can see Poe's grave as well, and Divine's grave if you like Divine.
Oh, there you
yeah,
go.
legend.
So we could do some serious grave hopping in Baltimore.
You had me at Divine.
I think about all of it. I think that is a biblical reference, if I'm not
Mhm. Yep.
mistaken. I think it's a place in Jerusalem, I think, or outside of Jerusalem. You mentioned petroglyphs. Steve, did you see in the park, the Point Pleasant Park, where Cornstalk is buried? Did you see the petroglyph?
Yeah, I was
that they
with
had
you.
preserved? Yeah.
I was standing right next to you.
Okay, I couldn't remember if that was you or Josh.
I was the nerdy tourist with my GoPro, and yeah, no, yeah, it was great. I mean, and that was weird because usually they do not carve petroglyphs out of where they find them, but they did here, and they put it in a park that's just got like a little wire fence on it, and it's totally weathered, and they shouldn't have done that, you know. And now you can really, I mean, you could barely see it, right? We were like shining lights just to see, like, you know, whatever you can see that would remain, but right, Adam? No.
The only petroglyphs that we have in Michigan have a little wire fence around them, and they've just recently put a roof over the top of it. But like, I tell people to go there all the time, but now it's almost heartbreaking to go there because so many people have like scratched their names into it, like it says ACDC next to it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And there's no one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no forest ranger that watches over it 24 hours a day. It's just a fence around some rocks, you know.
I mean,
that old stone fort that Kiki was talking about, it's got really nice watering holes, so it's quite the destination, which is okay. But they've got like the main trail passes right through the Axis Mundi where the priests would stand, and you know, on the left to the right would be the equinoxes, and south to north would be the solstices, or however that works. It's it's actual like solar cross with mounds on each corner, but like the main path is like right through it, so people are just like walking right through, dogs, everything else. It's all messed up. I'm just like, that's the Axis Mundi right there. Like,
you know, yeah. I mean, even when I was at Cahokia, there was like people with like weight, you know, like those when people are training for something, they'll wear like those vests with like weights in them. There was like all these people running up Cahokia Mountains for exercise, all white people, of course. And my friend and I were like, just like, oh God, it felt so disrespectful. And they were like, excuse me, you know, like just like running through people, and I was like, just calm down, you know, like I'm like, do you really have to come here and make it your gym? I mean, that's like, you know, people are idiots.
Makes me think too, like, even if you go to like sacred, like really well-known sacred sites like the Giza pyramid, there's like people blocked off so people can pose for their Instagram shots. I mean, we were in the most sacred of places, in the holy of holy temples, and there's people, you know, like posing and you know, with their selfie sticks, and you know, it's a really interesting thing. I mean, I was Facebook Living through Dendera, but it was
everyone's got to get a pyramid selfie in.
And I think that everybody should go to Dendera. So I wanted everybody to come with me.
Of course. So. There's a way to do it, you know? Like, you know, it's just, I feel like it's sometimes, like when I was walking up the Cahokia steps, I was like really wanting to have this, I wanted to walk slow and like really take it in. But I had to like walk fast because there was all these people exercising behind me. And I'm like,
And isn't it weird too? Wasn't there like a farmer who just he built his house on the top of the Cahokia mound at one point? Like,
I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it though.
That's very common practice. You can find them all over again.
Yeah.
There's that story that Grant Morrison, the comic book artist, talks about when he went to Kathmandu, and there was this temple that has 365 steps, and you have to step on each step, and you can't pause between taking steps. And if you get to the top without pausing, you are granted a wish. And he was talking about, because the steps are so like strangely formed, like you really have to pay attention. It takes a lot of energy. And so like he committed himself to doing it. and like got to the top, and he got to the top, and there's a vendor up there with T-shirts saying like, "I made it to the top." Like, and Grant Morrison's like, that guy does that every single day. Like he holds all those shirts up there every day.
It is. It's really interesting. Like, it makes you think too. Like even at like Chichen Itza, you're in this like massive ball court that's like made to be this like sacred mythological site that is the story of creation, and there's people trying to sell you magnets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I guess selfishly, I just want to go and like be in my own head and like kind of like, you know, trip out when I go to those places and really just try to imagine what it was like. And, you know, and they were really interrupting my mojo, but
I got really lucky back in, I think it was like 1989. I camped near Palenque in Mexico, and that's the ruin with the Eric Von Daniken guy. It looks like he's in a spaceship, you know.
Yeah.
And at that time, this guy at the campground said, you know, you can just walk through the trail, man. You know, you can go at night and just be in Palenque by yourself. And you know, I just feel sorry that people can't do that anymore. They have guards there and all that. We just walk through the jungle, and all of a sudden there are these glowing white ruins that you could just climb on and go inside. There's like a meditation chamber that's just completely dark and sitting in the darkness. And so, and you know, it's sad that you can't do that. You know, you got to go past the T-shirt guy and hike up and and
when I was
all the commercialism.
They're just tough. They're tough to get to, but I think there are still places. I've been to. There was a place we had to drive down a 50-mile dirt road in the middle of the Belize jungle, sign in with the Belize army just in case we got kidnapped by Guatemalan drug dealers to go to the tallest pyramid in Belize. But it was so worth it. But it also, I mean, it was like, you know, how many flights? How long did it take? You know, the effort. But it also felt like part of the pilgrimage. You know, it's like I'm willing to stand in the line at customs. I'm willing to like be on this little terrible bumpy road because now it's just me and the freaking pumas in the jungle. And that's it. But you know, I heard that they're paving the road and it's going to be a little bit easier so tour buses could get there. And yeah, there's something that feels enjoyable about that because I want more people to enjoy that experience and that spiritual feeling that you get climbing to the top of a freaking pyramid. But at the same time, there's also the like I kind of want it to myself.
Well, that was when you were talking about the pyramids. So in '92 is when I went to Cairo and I bribed the guards to let me in. Like the guy who had gone to Egypt with was like, listen, it's going to cost you $30 and they're going to give you, you know, I think it was like 8 minutes alone or whatever like that. And obviously there were other people waiting who were bribing these guards because it was the middle of the night, you know, they were letting us in. But I'm kind of glad that it was in the early 90s because like all I had really was, you know, I had like my disposable 35mm camera. So I wasn't even thinking about it. And I knew it had to be rushed. So it was like, here's your money. And then like up to the Grand Gallery. And I was tired when I got there. And I was like, I wasn't thinking about taking a picture or anything. Like I just like laid down on the floor in the darkness and was like, I'm inside the pyramid. Like my mind was blown. And then the only real picture that I ever post is the next day I went to the Pizza Hut that's like across the street from the pyramids. Like took a picture of the pyramids and the Sphinx, but like the Pizza Hut logo is over them. Like I'm in there. So bizarre. And that was in '92, so I can't even imagine what it must be.
Surreal. Well, so to your point, it was very similar. We went to the King's Chamber on the final night of being in Egypt and like literally sat in like the sarcophagus in the King's Chamber and had this like, you know, and this is after going all the way up the Nile, going to every temple, having every single emotional, because you emotionally respond to the lessons that are given to you by the sacred geometry in these places. Like you can, everywhere I went to, I had cats, which was so good because I love cats and I picked them all up. And
I'm petting my cat right now. Sorry. Literally.
Let's see him. Let's see the cat.
Bring the kitty up.
Come here, David Berman.
Meow, meow.
It's
Also,
it's
too, I
not,
think I
it's not
mentioned it.
peak internet without a cat.
I know there's a cat cafe in Nashville, kind of near where our hotel is. I'm probably going to spend time there if anybody wants to.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go see that.
Oh, I love cats. Well, so we get we do this like very like initiatory experience, and then you crawl, like you're like bowing down as you go out of the pyramid, and you look out and you're reborn. Like you're literally reborn. And as we're reborn, the guard tells us, move along, hurry, go, you have to leave. Whoa, hurry now. So you're like having this like rebirthing spiritual experience, and you're like, welcome to planet Earth. This is the third dimension. I need to hurry up.
Right. The thing that blew my mind is being a little kid, obviously, and loving the pyramids and all that stuff. Like there's in your brain, you're like, I'm going to go to Egypt and I'm going to climb the pyramids. And then I got to Egypt and saw the pyramids and I was like, oh, I can't climb the pyramids. Like, like the stones are as tall as I am. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're big. Like they're not. You always hear step pyramids, right? And so in your brain as a little kid, you're like, oh, they must go like steps. Like I should be able to walk up them. And then the first one is like 5.5 feet tall, and you're like, oh no, I'm not walking.
I didn't know that. I assumed you could.
You could climb them. I mean, they'll probably like you couldn't now. I'm sure.
Ancient giants did.
Yeah.
Well, you
You're
can't
right.
unless you find the right person to give money to. That's my thought.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of stuff that we weren't allowed to do until we, tipped the right person.
Yes, for sure.
They were made for the Nephilim, right, Sirfield?
Yep, they just stepped right up and down.
Absolutely. With
That's how they got their workouts in.
waltz right up there.
That's Bigfoot had a T-shirt shop at the top.
I was quite amazed. See, there's no forest around it. It's got to be, gotta be paranormal.
Well, guys, I'm really looking forward to the conference. This is gonna be great. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I probably will have pulled all the hair out any of the hair that I still have left on the end of it, but I think we'll all have a lot of fun. And so just to kind of recap, guys, just Strange Realities Conference 2022 taking place in Nashville, Tennessee, and online in October 14th through the 16th of 2022. We have Kiki Dombrowski here. She is speaking a workshop, actually, from 1 to 2 p.m. That's Central Time. Michael Hughes, 2:10 to 3:10. He's doing another workshop that is also Central Time. Steve Berg, 3:20 to 4:20 with a 10-minute break after. Yeah. And 8:50 to 9:50, Mr. John Tenney concludes the Saturday night. But the festivities will probably continue all along into the morning, because I'm sure with Banal, it's going to be, go on for at least till 6 or 7 o'clock. So,
he's just waking up around then.
Well, actually, I should say Tim is going to go first. It revolves around 2 Tims. It's basically like the way we've done it the last few years. Or last year we did it. We're doing it the same. Tim Banal starts on Friday night, and Timothy Renner ends it on Sunday. So it's between 2 Tims, as we like to say it.
In terms of the workshops, do I need to or do people need to sign up prior to reserve a spot?
It's going to be all part of the same.
Yeah,
okay. So anybody that's there watching can participate in the workshop.
There's no special VIP pass or anything like that.
Okay, well, I definitely want to go. So
yeah,
you're there, dude.
Yeah,
nice.
If you're there, you're in the workshops.
I'm so excited for you guys' workshops. These are gonna be so fun. I have a lot to learn. This is like new stuff for me too. I can't wait.
Excellent.
Same. I don't know.
Yeah, big time.
Improv rituals. I'm so excited.
It's a little niche, but yeah, I can't wait to share it.
Well, let's go down the list. John Tenney, where can people find you?
All my social media is my name, John E.L. Tenney, or if that's too much work, go to Google and type Tenney Weirdo and then just follow the link.
Lovely. I'm doing that just because.
And Michael Hughes.
Michael M. Hughes everywhere. So just look for that.
All right. And you have your author page up, I assume, as well?
Yeah, it all just funnels through my name. Easiest
Okay.
way to do it. Yep.
And Mr. Steve Berg.
Yep, my social media stuff is Bergmaster5000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can, if you guys got time, go rent the Skinwalker Ranch movie.
Oh man, there's better.
Don't do it. Is that what you said?
I mean, yeah, if you want. I mean, there's better ways to spend your money, probably. Rent's one of my other fine films I've been. Not my proudest moment.
And although we did, Steve, have an idea for what happened to your character, we do have an idea for a sequel.
Yeah, I think the sequel will be amazing. The spinoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Kiki, where can people find you?
KikiDombrowski.com, but Dombrowski's a long one. So you could try Kiki Tarot in Google, and I usually pop up at the top. And you can find me on Twitter. That's where I'm the most active, pitifully, because I'm not very active on social media. KikiD333.
And there's a new interview of you up on online right now too. We should mention that.
Yes, there is, and I will post it on my Twitter. That was a really, really lovely interview. I really enjoyed doing that. So yeah, I'll post that and share that with folks on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook too. But I just not as active there.
Yeah,
so I'll post it there too. Just find me there.
All right, guys, and we are Conspiranormal. If you don't know us by now, I don't know how you want it, but we still doing the Patreon stuff. I've got a good Patreon segment, couple of Patreon segments coming up with Joshua Cutchin on the way back from Paramania, where we talk about it. So if you guys want to check that out, we call it Conspirinormal. So and Sergio can tell you where to find that.
You can find that at patreon.com/conspiranormal.
All right, guys. I want to thank you so much. We are 30 days and counting to the Strange Realities Conference. Come join us in Nashville.
The 4th annual hybrid.
Come join us in Nashville in a month, and we will talk to you soon. Join us next week. We're going to have more speakers from the Strange Realities Conference coming at you. Talk soon, guys.